Hello, good morning, everyone. Just waiting for everyone to drop in this morning. All right, so it's 8:17. So again, good morning, and thank you for attending today's session, Finite Hours, Infinite Tasks, Exploring Time Management. My name is Marcia Miller, and I co-chair the Marketing PR Network with Kate Murphy. Unfortunately, Kate cannot be with us today. We have a terrific panel of speakers on this topic, including Jennifer Tulipani with CMTA, Jennifer Bentley with BH+A, Chloe Buscaron, the NBBJ, and Daria Bukeskova with CI Design. So we all have so much to accomplish in so little time. And I want to jump right into our discussion as our panelists will talk about three main areas: strategies for more effective work, such as prioritization, scheduling strategies like time blocking and interval work, and lastly, techniques that they use to keep themselves and or their teams on target they have found effective. And so with that, I'm going to let each speaker introduce themselves, starting with Daria. And Daria, again, will serve as our moderator. So thank you all.
Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be here today. It is such an important topic. My name is Daria. I'm an architect at CI Design. And we're going to keep this very organic. So if you have a question, please put it in chat. Please raise your hand and it will get asked. We want to gear this towards what you're interested in. And for me, it's also a very personal topic because in architecture, it's almost normal to work very long hours. And certainly I've done that. I'm sure many of you have done that too. And then I had a child in 2020, and then I realized that I cannot do that anymore. So what do? You get organized. So I learned some techniques, and I hope that things that we will share today will be helpful for you as well. And I'll pass it on to Jennifer.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Bentley. I'm the Director of Marketing for Bargman Hendry plus Archetype, BH+A. I have been in the AEC industry for over 20 years now. And I've worked in both in architecture, construction, and engineering. And I'm a team of one here. So really the time management is important to me because I'm dealing with architects who tend to be procrastinators by nature. You know, the project is never done. It's always up until the last minute working on it. And so I've had to figure out strategies to kind of manage them and their project management skills, but bring it back so that I can get my stuff done on time, because as you know, proposals don't wait for anybody. And, you know, deadlines are very concrete. So I've come up with a bunch of different ways that help me in both the short term, medium term, and long term that I hope to pass on to you. Jen?
Hi, all. I'm Jennifer Tulipani. I work at CMTA, which is an engineering firm. But I, like Jennifer Bentley, have 20 years experience in the AEC industry working for architects and engineers. And Jennifer is spot on. Architects do tend to wait to the last minute. Engineers are similar, waiting to the last minute. And one of the things that I found that is effective is to really do planning, trying to manage multiple different processes at the same time. So effective planning is really the way to go. And I hope to share some of the techniques that I've used over the years with all of you. Thanks for having me today.
Chloe?
Sure. Hi, good morning, all. My name is Chloe Buscaron. I'm Client Development Director at NBBJ. We're a design firm here in Boston of about 70. And BBJ is a multi-office around the world. We're about 14 offices globally. I come to this panel with a unique perspective, having been in a position of client development currently, but working with a team of multiple people. And BBJ currently has a marketing studio of about 40 people supporting 800 architects. But in the past have worked for a local studio, CBT, with a smaller group regionally. And then like Jennifer, sat in a position where I was the only one at a smaller firm as a marketing coordinator. But really interested in this topic. I think time management is always on our minds in terms of how we're going to balance the day, the week, the month, the year, and how we're going to support our teams in order to win new work and build our brand. So thank you for including me, and good morning.
And Chloe and Jennifer, both of you mentioned the teams that you work with. One of you is a one-person team. The other one is a 100-person team. Jen, could you speak more to what perspective that you come from with this? Do you manage a team, or how big is your team?
Yes, so we are a 700 plus person firm. In Boston, we have about 40 people, and in Boston, I am a team of one. So we share resources across the country with a central marketing group of about 20, and that includes communications, some business development, some graphics, and some proposal staff. So it's been really helpful to have a larger team to back up my workload. And I do manage Boston directed marketing coordinators remotely. So that brings a new set of challenges and opportunities.
Chloe, and you also mentioned in your introduction that you've worked as a team of one, but also as a large team. Are there any differences that you found in how you are managing your time, depending on the team size? Or do you think it is very similar?
Very different. But I think, time management is, important regardless of the size of your marketing studio, and how you manage yourself and really others too, expectations. Currently, and without going into the nuances of a go, no go process, I know everyone will probably be interested in talking about that or unpacking that, but I think working as a larger team, communication is really important, understanding multiple deadlines, multiple practices, and sort of the helping hands that have capability to take on new project loads. I think working in a larger group, just having an understanding of time and what people can actually take on. If there's a new opportunity, a new RFQ, new RFP that is brought in, and there are no helping hands, that opportunity may not survive or live, or we're going to have to figure out a way to get it done. And I guess working in a smaller group or as a singular person, and I think Jennifer Bentley can probably speak more to this because she sits in that position currently, but it's all on you, right? So I think being able to say no or speaking up for yourself, that's not reasonable, or that's not going to be, we're not going to be able to meet that deadline unless XYZ or other things are put on the back burner. But I think learning how to say no or speaking up for yourself in those instances is very important.
That definitely is very important. When I was working for a very small firm, I learned very quickly that people will come to you and they'll ask you, can you do this? Can you do this? Even in a large firm, they do that too. Even if you're scheduled for projects. And if you don't say no, you'll get overwhelmed. And eventually I became the lunch girl, the coffee girl, and whatever you can think of. But you just have to say no sometimes.
Well, I think you can also try to manage expectations. Like if I'm working on a deadline, I do get those requests as the only person. It's, can you do this for me? Can you proof that for me? Can you send this fee proposal? And so a lot of the time I, instead of leaving it open and yes, I'll do it, I say, when do you need it by? And do you know that I have a proposal due? And can we, is it okay to get it to you by this time? And kind of promise them times out, because otherwise, if I just take everything on without them knowing when I do have those deadlines, I mean, I make it pretty clear. My deadlines are all over the place, but sometimes it doesn't really come through in an email. And so just to manage those expectations of the people who are asking you for things, because you have deadlines and they have deadlines, and sometimes it's not a lot of communication between the two. It's just something that needs to get done. So, being in my position, I don't have a chance to say no very often. It's I got to get it done. But if people at least know that maybe I don't have the time for them right now, then they can understand or push the deadline back if they know I can get it to them by tomorrow morning. And so that's how I deal with that situation.
Jen, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I was going to add, I'm sure that everyone has this problem too, but like Jennifer said, managing expectations and also delegating up, not only delegating to your staff and the people that, report to you, being able to delegate some of those tasks to, principals and project managers, because they may actually be able to do whatever they're asking faster than you can. So being able to use effective communication styles to help delegate some of those tasks so that you're not the go-to person for absolutely everything.
Do you have any advice on how to delegate up? Because sometimes it could be very hard to approach people that are above you or managing you to ask them to do things.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's always best to not phrase it as an ask, and to possibly get them to work with you on something, to start the process with them, and then say, oh, this might be best if you could just finish it and get it back to me. Or, can you just add these 3 things to this to get this back to me? I think has always been helpful, at least for me. So that it's not an official ask like, okay, here it is, and make the task easier for them to do. Get it to, 60% and then have them finish it. 40%.
I agree with that. I mean, sometimes when I'm doing a fee proposal specifically, it's easier for them to correct something that I've kind of thrown together or given them an outline. They can fill it in versus just do it on your own, which is, so overwhelming for some of the principals. So I agree with that, the way you're doing it.
Oh, I see you nodding as well.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking of a recent example of it's time. And I think so much of managing our own time is also managing our team's time, right? Architects, engineers, etc., our team. And they're heads down, focused on project work. They're not necessarily thinking about the proposal deadline or the interview that's coming or the meeting that's coming up on Thursday that needs a deck yet. So how can we, I think Jennifer hit the nail on the head, get them to 60%, throw spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks, have them react to something. So it's not just like, go find it yourself, where it lives. That's not helpful, right? Be a helping hand to get them where they need to be to react to it, to get an opinion, to give direct feedback to where you need to be then.
That's great. Are there any specific techniques that you would recommend or that you use and you found helpful? And I know in the description, there were a few, and maybe Marcia, maybe you could share the slides for those that don't know what those techniques are. And well, this one, I think many people have heard about. There's many books out there that talk about 80-20. And has anyone done this before? Maybe not realizing. Because this is something that I personally like to do, but didn't know. Just identifying what are the problems and what is the most important, or what is the root cause. Can we go to the next one? Oh,
Sure. And I just want to state that we will be posting these slides on BSA's website with the recorded video. So I'm sorry, go ahead, Daria.
does anyone use this one on the panel? Jen, Jennifer, Chloe?
Sure. So if you go back to the Pareto analysis, I think that this is something that most people are familiar with. That 20% of the action are responsible for 80% of the outcomes. So I sort of believe this in my work, that like how this is a tough one to explain, but it's more for from a management perspective, how you the 20% that you do, even if it's a proposal that you're working on, a fee or a slide deck, how that affects your firm, how that affects, other work, future work. And if you can get to that 20%, like Daria mentioned, the root cause, I think that solves, it's very simple, but solves 80% of your sort of problems or your issues. And that definitely relates to time management as well. And I saw Chloe nodding her head too. Chloe, how do you use this?
I was just laughing about the spending too much time on social media. It's probably a problem for us all, admittedly. But yeah, I think this speaks to me too, Jennifer.
Next one. This one is relatively simple. You set a timer and you just do it. The only hard thing is that when you're managing other people, it's hard to just find that space to sit down and just do it without any interruptions.
This to me, like, I think creates stress. I feel like setting a timer, I wouldn't personally go for this one. It seems highly disciplined, but might be someone else's bag.
I use this one for emails. I didn't know that it wasn't, I don't find it stressful, but I think it's all just depends on the different personalities.
Absolutely, you're right.
Shall we go to the, oh,
Sure.
does anyone want to speak about this one?
Sure, I can speak to this one. This is something that I use quite a bit. And we all sort of live, I don't know if anyone's familiar with the Eisenhower matrix, how we all sort of, all of the work that we do can be decided in one of these quadrants. The important and urgent, the important, not urgent, not important, and nor not important, but urgent, and not important and not urgent. And so much of what we do as marketers or people or project managers in the AEC industry is we live in that upper left quadrant, the important and urgent. Everyone comes to us with urgent requests and we kind of live there. And we're just very reactionary. I think most of the stuff that I try to do every day to kind of push some of the longer lead items, the websites, the I'm just thinking of something. I just put together an onboarding package for people, those kind of things that aren't urgent, but they are still important, and they do affect our business. To try to move to that quadrant is something that I've really tried to do. And I don't know if anyone else on the panel has used this.
How do you prioritize? How do you decide what goes into what quadrant?
So the important and urgent are like deadlines. So they're your proposal deadlines. It's the interview deadlines. Those are urgent and important, and they have a finite deadline. The urgent and the important and not urgent are like your website. You don't have a finite deadline for your website design, but you do have some sort of schedule, but it's not pressing. There's no fire. You won't be rejected if you don't, get the website done on time. So that's sort of how those things are decided. But yeah.
And I just want to interject really quick that Bill Fleming had a comment. Bill, do you want to unmute and state what you put in the chat?
Sure. It's interesting. I teach a course at Leslie Art and Design, and yesterday my course was on productivity for designers. So it's a good timing. And I brought up the Eisenhower matrix to show them as well. The tricky thing I find with the Eisenhower matrix, I think in concept it's great, but I think the reality in terms of managing day to day, it's tricky to know, like, is something truly urgent versus is it the boss screaming at down my neck, or is it is it necessary for it to be urgent? And then why is it important as opposed to just like labeling it as important? So the concept of it is great, but I think using it for day-to-day time management, I think could be tricky. I think it's better probably for larger scale project planning, maybe. So that's my sense, but I'm curious to get your take on that.
Sure. So the reason that I find it effective is to get to those longer lead items, the websites, the rebrands,
The bigger stuff.
The bigger stuff. Yeah, exactly. It's more for leadership and less for day to day, because if we don't actually use this, if we don't get to those bigger things, we're just going to live in that upper left-hand quadrant. Everything is urgent. Everything is important. And if you talk to people, and if I talk to my staff, everyone, this is important because, so-and-so, needs an affidavit. This is important because, this proposal is due. So it's really kind of looking at that, like, no, you know what, this can go into the not important, the urgent but not important. Let's see if we can delegate that. Or this, let's see if this can come off. This is a no. I think we can say no to this, and then it can fall to the lower right-hand quadrant. So that's sort of how I use it with myself and my staff.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure.
So I can take this one. This Parkinson's law is basically just trying to, I see it more of like a competition with myself. I do this and the next one that's coming up, which is time blocking for my short-term goals. And, I'm kind of competitive by nature. I was an athlete in college. And so I'm very, I try to set up deadlines for myself and then beat those deadlines. And so for me, that's someone who works well under that time pressure, which is obviously why I'm in this position that I'm in now. I would never try working without a computer charger. I think that's a little extreme, and God forbid it goes out and you lose everything you've just done. But I do try to get things done early. I don't want to be, kind of rushing to the deadline. I'm trying to back things up. And, this limited time for tasks, I do answer my emails during the day, but it's like first thing I get in, I do my 20 minutes of just kind of relaxing and looking at emails and getting that stuff done. And then I move on to my proposals. And if you want to switch to the next one for time blocking, I also do this one where it's kind of, I feel like it's step on step with what we just discussed. And basically I have, you probably can't see it, but I get like like a Post-it, and I have these Post-its that are like 4x5, and they have colors on them and they have lines on them, and I write out like 9 to 9:30, 9:30 to 10, 10 to 10:30, and then for each one, especially when I'm doing a proposal, I will put in, from 9 to 9:30, I'm going to work on section 1. From 9:30 to 10, I'm working on the cover. And so it's really helpful when I have multiple different things to do, because I have this time schedule for myself, which is, again, just like before, I'm trying to beat that time. And then if I have time left over from that 9 to 9:30, I can go take a break. And, it makes me feel more comfortable getting things done, because I'm, again, competing with myself and trying to get all these tasks done, just like I would do with a proposal, a deadline, driven by that. So I don't know if anyone else does that. Chloe, I think you might have some form of that.
I'm nodding over here, Jennifer. I use this method all the time. A lot of my staff does too, especially for heads down focus work. I think it's also important for the personal things that you have going on in your life, whether it be getting your hair cut or your nails done or whatever it is. Block that time off. Personal time is really important too. Maybe you have a hard stop at some point in the afternoon to go do what you need to do with your family. But block that time off. It's important, especially for focus time when you're leading up to a deadline.
I agree too. I think that's probably one of the most popular is time blocking, and it's something easy that everyone can do. You don't, you can do it on your Outlook calendar.
I'll just add one more here. For those who also do business development or marketing and business development, travel time is really important to time block also. If you're traveling across town to a meeting, or you have an event to get to, or you're going to the BSA for that amazing marketing event that might be in person, who knows. But make sure you build in the travel time around the meeting time. At NBBJ, it's fairly common that people will block or request a meeting for you, and you have a lot of meetings appear on your calendar that you're not in control of. If your time is blocked, they know not to do that, or it won't be as common to go into your meeting time that is already reserved for you.
That's definitely important for everybody, even for architects or engineers when we go to client meetings as well. Important to really think about how long is it going to take to get there and block that time. And one thing about the time blocking method that I wonder is, how would you handle interruptions? Because when I time block, sometimes I have to prioritize, is this going to be something I can just sit at my desk and do? Or maybe I need to go hide in a conference room or in the phone room so I can do it without interruptions. Do you have any other suggestions on how to handle it?
When I had interrupted, it's a natural part of the day. I mean, I'm constantly being asked to do multiple different things. And again, people don't understand when I have deadlines sometimes. But I try not to beat myself up over the time blocking. If I block my time out and something happens and I get the time gets all screwed up, I just start again. And that's why I kind of write it down, because I found that's harder in Outlook, although you could move them around. But I take it easy on myself and say, 12 noon, we're starting again, 12 to 12:30, 12:30 to 1, and block out those times once again. Because I'm trying to help myself, not beat myself up over this. And you just have to understand that things happen during the day that are beyond your control sometimes.
I think I'm looking at you with your headphones on. I think that's sort of like the new sign in the office. You're, on a call or you're busy. Often people come over to my desk. We're in an open office floor plan. If you have your headphones on, people are kind of like, are you on the phone? Are you on the phone? And even if you're not, you could kind of be like, yeah, I am. But I think your strategy, Daria, of perhaps going into another room in your office, a conference room, going to a quieter space where you're not as open to people coming over is also a good strategy. Or go home. Go home.
That's true. That's a whole different topic of conversation. Next one. Does anyone want to take this one?
I can take this one again. This is what I use usually for the weekly deadlines or the longer medium-term deadlines. I do this as an old-fashioned to-do list, and I know sometimes that gets intimidating for people when your list gets ridiculously long, and it's overwhelming. But for me, it's kind of nice to have all this stuff, and this is all the stuff I have to get done. And for my to-do list, like I said, it's very basic. It has a checkbox, so I can write out what I have to do. It has a date at the top, so I know what week we're dealing with. And then I check off that box. And I think I was telling these guys when we were talking about beforehand, I write things down that I've already done just so I could check it off, so I can kind of like prime the pump a little bit and feel good about myself, like I'm already working on it. But I'm a visual person and I work in a visual field. So for me to have that to-do list on the side, and it's like it sits on my side, it doesn't sit in front of me, but I know that I need to check back in to make sure that I'm getting things done. And that's where I put like my website changes or my social media posts, because it's, again, that Eisenhower matrix box of, it doesn't have to get done right now, but it's kind of out there and I don't want to forget about it. And when people come over to my desk, I can say, hey, it's on my list, I'm working on it, it's right here, I gotta move through this stuff. And they feel like I have recognized their need and that it is on this list and it will get done. So it's nice to be able to kind of show them. I don't work a lot on, I work on the computer, but I don't put a lot of stuff in Outlook because no one pays attention to it anyway in my firm. They just schedule whatever they want, but for me, writing it down is much better to have it kind of in my face and off to the side.
I'm a to-do list gal too. Same.
Go ahead, Chloe.
No, I was just agreeing. I think to-do lists are
Okay.
old school to-do lists. Yes.
I was just going to add about Outlook. I do use Outlook as a to-do list sometimes, because oftentimes there are situations where you'll have to remind someone something, follow up with someone, and it's not right away. It can be weeks, sometimes even 3 months ahead. That's when I think Outlook is very helpful. I use it as deadline reminder. I send all the engineers and other consultants invitations to the deadline. There's never an excuse, oh, I didn't see it. No, it's there, you accepted it. And same thing for following up with people too. My Outlook at the top where it says all day is just full with to-do things. And then I just delete them as I complete them. And if I don't, I move them when I can.
I was going to add the getting it done list. I've used Planner, which is part of Teams, so that you can have a task and then several subtasks underneath, so that you can actually and they have a little checkbox like that you can get it done. So you get that satisfaction of clicking that box on a checklist. So I found Teams Planner to be very effective too for this method.
That's a great tool as well. I use it also quite often. Should we move on? Any volunteers? I personally do use this one, but it's somewhat of a version, because every Sunday I sit down and I start thinking about what are the things that I need to accomplish this week. And this is deadlines and also personal things. And it's all combined in one calendar in Outlook. And one thing that I do like about from this method is that you're not just listing all the tasks, you're also thinking about the result, what it is the result that you want from the task. And it's very important because sometimes the result you want may not be what you're doing in the moment. And I think a good analogy with this is a friend of mine taught me to play chess. And I was just playing to kill all the different pieces. But then he told me, look, this is not the point of the game. As little steps as possible to capture the king. So how many things are we doing in our life not thinking about that? So I think this is a great method.
I think just looking at your calendar, this is like a typical habit that I have on a Sunday. You know, what do I have for the week, right? Before I get to the office, my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, what meetings do I have? What deadlines do I have? What needs to be done? Like going so far as even planning outfits for the week. I mean, for those of you who do events, we're talking about dry cleaning, right, Marcia? But I think if you can help yourself out by looking at the week, and I even have another calendar I'm looking at my wall and at home with major things that are going on. So I know going into the week how I can get ready. And I just want to pull out of this conversation really quickly, because I know, Daria, in the prep, we talked a little bit about self-care. And I think, you know, as stressful as the marketing positions can be, you know, taking care of yourself, exercising, eating well, sleeping is huge. That's going to really impact your performance. And so where are other blocks of time that you're using to take a break, take a walk, go out for lunch, don't eat at your desk? So I think in planning your work week, making sure you have time built in for yourself. And that seems like extra, but believe me, it will help you feel better and show up better.
Oh, I 100% agree. I put my gym time on the calendar so nobody puts a meeting.
Same.
Same too. I completely agree with Chloe. You are more effective if you get rest. You're more effective if you exercise. You're more effective. Actually, there's been studies on this. If you leave your desk and take lunch somewhere else, that your afternoon will be more productive and you'll be more focused if you do take that time for yourself. So eating at your desk, you think you're getting stuff done, but you're actually not. You're less productive working at your desk and you'll be more tired in the afternoon instead of kind of resetting, getting, you know, resetting yourself so that you can be more productive in the afternoon. And that doesn't mean having to go out to eat, but leave your office, take a walk, get some fresh air, talk to a coworker, but having that time that is away from your computer, it is very helpful.
That's so true. And that also makes me think about multitasking, because that was one of the mistakes that I was making before. I was trying to do several things at the same time. But then in reality, you're not doing any of those things well. At least for me, I'm not very good multitasker. Do you multitask? Does it work for you?
I mean, look, there's always multiple things that are going on at all times, right? It's just the nature of the business. But I think it's prioritizing what your priorities are. If that's the deadline, that's the deadline. And I think you can remove yourself from certain meetings. You don't have to be everywhere all the time. but really make it easier for yourself. Again, can you say, no, I can't be at this meeting because I have a deadline, or actually I'm triple booked at that time, can't do it. I think, less is more in this instance, right? I know we all want to be in all the meetings all the time, right? Here I am again, taking notes and participating, but I think really picking and choosing where you're really needed in order for you to get done what you need to do.
I agree with that. I think that there's sometimes, like when I'm working on multiple proposals at a time, there are instances where I need to gang them together. Like if I need to get insurance information on 3 different proposals, I do those 3 sections all at once because I'm only doing the task once, and that's how I can multitask. And but to be honest, sometimes I forget, did I do it for this one and not that one? And did I rename, like, where did I save it? Like, sometimes my brain can't handle 3 at once. But, it's something that again, in this industry, and me being by myself, I don't have anyone to give these proposals to. So I got to figure out a way to multitask all the time. But that's again where my time blocking comes in, because it's just, I'm trying to figure it out and kind of match everything up.
This one is really interesting. The pickle jar theory is what things are important and what things are not important in your life.
Daria, I just want to just interject for a second, because Bill, do you want to unmute and make a comment about the process?
No, just what you were talking about. Yeah, it's actually called batching.
Okay.
It's weird. I've heard it, but then I saw YouTube people who talk about how they make other YouTube stuff, and they basically batch similar things. Like if you have to do insurance for multiple things, you batch that all together. If you have to do phone calls for different things, you batch all the phone calls together. So
it's funny. I think when we had a discussion about this earlier, it's like we do all these things, but we didn't realize they had names.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I'm like, so when I got the slides originally, I kind of went back and like, oh, I do number 4 and I do number 3 and I do a version of number 9, and so it's interesting to see it all played out this way.
Yep.
But we've been trying to manage, and I think for everyone listening, it's easier to kind of go in with the name and try to do the task, as opposed to figuring out yourself and going backwards like I've done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Daria. Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
I was just going to say that it's really important to figure out what is useful and what is not useful in your daily life. And sometimes people tell me, oh, I don't have time to go to the gym, for example, or I don't have time for self-care. Well, does that mean that it's not useful to you because you're not making time for it? Or there's other things that we're not doing? It's just a matter of priorities. Because if self-care is a priority, sometimes you just have to find time and try to push other things that may not be as important. It's really hard to do, though.
Yeah, I have a question about this one to, I guess, the rest of the panel or anyone else who wants to chime in. In this instance, they're talking about the sand being these little tiny pieces that you don't necessarily have to make time for. But most of those things, like I still need to make phone calls and text messages and reply to emails and social media. Like everything is either a pebble or a rock. I don't have a lot of sand in my day. And I think that, falsely calling all these things sand, it kind of leads it to, you don't have to call that person back, or you don't have to do social media. And I think for me, this is where this theory kind of falls down, because I know I have to get the rocks down, obviously. But I can't distinguish between the sand and the pebbles. For me, it's like everything is either a rock or a very large pebble. And so I don't know if anyone else on the panel has experience with this theory.
I don't have experience with a theory per se, But I think I do have the sand during the day in terms of the tasks that need to be completed, the pebbles. I see it as something that you know is happening. But then throughout the day, people may call you and unexpected issues may arise. It's the unexpected. That's the sand. And the sand is also so hard to miss. Like, I have a rule for myself that if something takes less than just a few minutes, do it then and there. And sometimes I get in trouble because I try not to read emails during my vacation time. But if I see an email that I can respond right away, I respond right away, because if I wait, I come back, I'm going to have to remember to go back to that email, remember what it was asking. And in the long run, it takes longer. And to me, that is sand. Maybe other people have other experiences. Chloe and Jen, what do you think? Because the rocks are pretty obvious. It's what is the most important task. The pebbles and the sand are a little bit trickier. Or maybe we just move on to the next one, the last one. This one is very similar to just making a list. So what is the clear goal? So you make a list and then you prioritize that list. And then you execute on the list. And I think all of us do some version of this. The only question is, how do you prioritize? Does anyone use this specific one?
I just want to state
Oh.
to you that we have a mute problem too. Chloe, are you unmuted now?
I'm unmuted, yeah.
Okay, and I know Jennifer, she couldn't unmute. That's why they couldn't answer your question, so. Just trying to. Go ahead. I'm just gonna work on unmuting Jennifer.
I mean, I think this speaks to me. Sure. I mean, I have one right now that I'm working on, right? I've got a deadline that I need to work on, and chipping away at it so it can get done. So that seems like, yes, I use this. Kind of like a to-do list almost too.
I'm still working on this unmute issue, but Bill, do you want to go ahead and speak on eat that frog technique? Oh, you're still on mute. And that's not.
He's muted too.
Oh, wow. I don't know what's going on.
Well, Bill had said in his chat that he uses this not every day, but when special things come up. I think that's what you're saying, Bill.
Okay.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
There. Now everybody should be okay.
Somehow a setting got changed. It said the host is not letting participants unmute themselves. Well,
Oh, is it
setting-
okay now?
Now it's okay. Yes. So
Good. Sorry, guys.
somebody somehow changed the setting. Anyways, I'm familiar with this methodology. I don't use it every day, but there are certain days where I know, like, okay, tomorrow's going to be Eat the Frog Day. So if there's like, it might be once every month or once every 6 weeks or so that I'll use this. So it's not a universal thing. It's just a as needed thing for me.
Agree.
I agree with that too.
Yeah. frogs are icky and they taste nasty. Sometimes it's just better to eat them and get them out of the way. So yeah.
Did we figure out the mute issue with Jennifer?
We're all
Yep,
set.
we're good.
Okay. Jennifer, I believe you had a tool that you wanted to share as
Oh.
well.
Sure. So I've talked about my short deadlines and my weekly deadlines, but I also have a tool. Marcia, you need to stop sharing. That's the end of our
Oh,
9, by the way.
Okay,
So
sorry. Thank you.
no worries.
Okay.
So I actually use I gotta find it. This is an old one that we had, as marketing. You can all see that my screen. This is called Airtable. When I have longer term deadlines that require teams, this was a office holiday party that I was, again, another firm. It was a smaller firm. I was the only person again. And so they wanted to hold an office holiday party to invite clients. And because it was a BD and office thing, I kind of stepped in and organized the whole thing. And it's something that Airtable will allow you to do multiple different kinds of deadline oriented, I guess, spreadsheets, or not spreadsheets, but they're like little lists here. And you're able to customize all the stuff you need to get done. I have, let's see, I might have another one. So, oh, that's not one. Oh. But I think this is the other one I have. Yeah. Well, this is just a test of one, but basically, again, if you have different categories that you can do, healthcare brochure that you're working on, you have multiple people and you can assign people to do it. If they're all bought into the Airtable, it's pretty easy to assign people tasks and then, just click them off, get them done. And again, this kind of goes along with my whole to-do list. You get to click off a little button and then you can put it into a spreadsheet like Excel, or you can categorize it this way. I believe that it's something that helps people become more aware of all the tasks that come to break down one single thing. If I just had something that was office party, it's like, how does that even get done? And so in the beginning, we kind of went through and assigned all the tasks, made up all the tasks and assigned them. And then everyone here, I had 2 people, the other people I have don't work at the firm. I don't work there anymore, but when I kind of brought it over, they disappeared, but everyone had a task to do and they were able to go in and see their specific tasks. And it's free to start off with. If you want a basic spreadsheet, you're able to do it for free, which is nice. And then if you get your other people to sign up, they give you credits. And so you can buy into a subscription once you get enough credits of team members using the free version. But it's something that I think is really helpful in terms of the longer term things, like, for example, website. I don't have my website one up, but it basically website and then all the pictures I need to get taken and the projects I need to put on. And as I went through, it was clicking it off and, kind of assigning pictures to somebody else and copy to somebody else. And so it's a definitely interesting. I also did go, no go, and who was going to work on things and where the folder was and the consultants we were going to use. And this is an older one as well, 2021. But it's easy, again, visual. If you need to assign people tasks and you can't rely on your to-do list to spread it out to everybody, I would recommend using Airtable. I think Monday.com is another one that people use, which is a very useful tool. And if anyone has any questions about that, I can share my
Jennifer,
insights.
can you just talk to us about, so is it expensive? And or I just Googled it for a second because I hadn't heard about Airtable. Tell us about the cost and or is there a license, for the whole company? How does that work?
You can do it. So I started out as free. And Jennifer Shelby is saying that Asana is another one. So if you look on, go do a search on project management tools. I think a bunch come up. Monday, there's Campfire is another one, which we used to use here at this firm, but no one ever used it, so we just got rid of it. And that was a really expensive one. This Airtable is, I believe it's free to sign up and to use until you get to a certain level where you have, like, you can't, I don't think, have the whole firm on it, or, but even then it's a relatively inexpensive way to do it. There are certain things you can open up when you buy into it, but even the subscription itself, I don't think is very expensive. I use the free. I don't even bother to pay for it. And like I said, I've had so many people sign up to use it that I have, I think, $50 in credits if I ever wanted to go into it. So as people sign up, they let you use your credits to buy into the system. The only problem is, once you're in the system, you can't really get things out of the system. That's your system and that's what you're going to do. But again, I thought it was really helpful, and it was just, again, a visual. You can do your colors. I think when you change, you need to buy in to change your color palette. Otherwise, you get the pastel rainbow. So if you're digging the pastel rainbow, it's totally free. When you go to primary colors, I think that's when you have to pay. I don't know what makes it more expensive, but it's something that you can try out as free for your team and kind of put a couple members on it and see. But it's something that I have used, I think, in 3 different firms. I've just kind of carried it along with me as I've moved. Some people buy into it, some people don't. And the important part is to have some people buy into it so you can use it. Right now, I don't have a team anymore. So when I did have a team, it was helpful, because everyone on the team knew what was going on. Now it's just me and it's on my head. So, and on my calendar. But any other questions about that?
I want to pick up on one of your task items on that chart, which is sort of unrelated but related. Just about the go, no go process and how we manage marketing time. I think, too often the principals and architects are so excited that we were invited to respond to an RFQ or an RFP, or there's that public bid that just came in that's, everybody and their mom will respond to. But I'd really challenge the go, no go process at your firm. Is it working for you? Are you saying yes to everything? What is the actual investment that your firm is making saying yes to all of these bids? Are you positioned for the project? Do you have staff? Do you have marketing staff to commit to the labor that will go into putting a really solid qualifications or proposal piece together? Who's going to champion this? I work at a firm now in DBJ. It's my 7th year, but I really admire the sort of process that is the go-no-go process that we've put in place. There's a lot of emphasis on the manager that runs the production of the packages that go out. They hold a key in order to say yes or no, whether or not we pursue something. And they kind of play this role as an investment manager. They ask the team to sort of put together, how much money will it actually cost to pursue this? We're in a funny situation when we respond to these things. It can be huge investments to be putting together qualifications packages and RFPs together when you're putting together fees for many, many consultants. So I think when we think about time management, also think about what you're saying yes to, because if you're saying yes to many tasks, that doesn't make you a hero, but really evaluate what you're saying yes to and what you're agreeing to take on.
Chloe, I'd like to ask you though, how do you say no? Because I know it's really tough a lot of times, especially when you're dealing with principals and, nobody wants to hear you can't do it. So can you address that, or have you had an incident where that's come up, and how did you deal with the situation?
Sure. It's a great question. How do you say no, right? There, in our sort of checks and balances of a go-no-go process, the marketing manager actually holds a key and is empowered to say, no, I don't agree to pursuing this. I think, there are many reasons why there might be a no vote. how many teams have been invited to this, if there are 50 invited firms or 26 invited firms, your probability is lower. Do we have a relationship with this client? If you don't know the client, you're probably not going to get picked for it unless you're super qualified. Do you have the marketing staff? Do you have a team that's qualified to do it? So all of these factors, Marcia. But I think if so many things add up and it's looking like you're not going to actually win the project, then don't waste everybody's time and money to pursue it. So I think at least the way NBBJ is set up, the marketing manager has the power to say no and vote it down. And just the way it's, go ahead.
That ability though, like you're saying, the marketing holds the key to say no. Was that established when they took that position, or was that a discussion? See, that's the other thing, because it's like, how do you establish that rapport, especially for somebody who's younger or who has just transitioned in the role? Could you
start?
No.
I mean, this gets deeper into the nuances of how NBBJ is set up, but essentially we're set up by practice. So let's just say it's a higher education RFQ that comes in. There's a marketing manager and a marketing specialist that would set up a go call with the team that is, hot and heavy to pursue this thing, right? But if it's say it's I saw the Orono, we've looked at those two, Jennifer. Say it's a University of Maine Orono science building, right? Well, listen, we've never been up to Maine, we've never visited this client. Sure, we have a couple projects that might qualify us to win the thing, but at the end of the day, the client doesn't know us. It's a public bid process. So the manager then is empowered to say, I don't think this is a good investment for the higher education practice. And if the studio, say it's a Boston studio pursuit, it's New England, says, no, we really want to pursue this anyway, then the expense of the pursuit goes to the Boston studio and not the marketing practice.
I just wanted to add something to what Chloe said about saying no. And I think that she hit the nail on the head. Using money and using an equivalent, okay, if we do this, it's going to cost this much in time. Our risk, cost and risk, and our risk and our the chance, the percentage of us getting this project is very low. So cost and risk. And if you kind of communicate that in a very, scientific and direct way, I think that most principals are very receptive. Nobody wants to lose money and nobody wants to risk losing something else, another job. If we focus on this, we're not going to be able to, on this, where you have a 5% chance of winning, we are not going to be able to focus on this other project that we have an 80% chance of winning. So using risk and cost, I think is always been valuable to me. And that's saying no across the board, if it's for a pursuit or other marketing endeavors.
Yeah, I totally agree, Jennifer. And keep tabs of this, we've actually, we've submitted to this same client 3 times. They've never picked us, keep tally of the number of pursuits you're going. And if you are able to track labor and hours and expenses I think that again, just proves your point, Jennifer, or what we're trying to suggest here about saying no.
Noted. That's a great point. Those key words.
Yes, and also I just wanted to add from the project's perspective, it is also very important to say no, because oftentimes it happens that clients are pushing the scope, they want things faster, and there's all kinds of things that are happening. And just the same, using money and time, it always helps. If the client wants something additional, and you could say, yes, we'll do it, but this is how much it's going to cost.
Bill, you have another comment here you've put in the chat, and thank you so much for including a PDF, but do you briefly want to talk about this methodology, this other time management?
Yeah, this is super simple and it's not as common, but I actually, I found this a couple of years ago and I use it all the time. And whenever I've showed other people, it's like, ooh, I need that. It's called 135. The link to an article is in there and I'm going to include a PDF of it.
Thank you.
And essentially, I don't have a new one up yet, but there's a blank one. Essentially, what it's broken down into one big thing for the day, 3 medium things for the day, and 5 small things for the day. And the thing that I like about it is that it's super flexible. You get to interpret on that day what's a big thing, what's a medium thing, and what's a small thing. Because a big thing sometimes can be time intensive. It could be like, I just spent 2 hours on this. But a big thing can also be like, it's really important for me to get this email out today. That's going to take me 15 minutes. So that's the big thing. And so every day, whatever's a big thing, you get to change it up. And I find it helpful because it limits me literally to 9 items a day. Like, these are the 9 things I tend to do. I don't normally get to all 9 of them. Other things will get in the way of it. But it's a very simple, it's a daily to-do list. You can replicate it digitally easily. I'm mostly a digital person. I use it in concert with my calendar, and I use Asana for tracking my projects and tasks. But in terms of every day in the morning, I sit down and I write down what my 135 is for the day. So I figured I'd share that with you folks.
Yes, thank you so much. That's
You're welcome.
great. So
And
Daria,
I must have drank a lot of coffee. I'm sorry that I'm going to keep on speaking up. So my
Oh, it's great,
apologies.
Bill. It's great.
You're an honorary member of the panel today.
Thank
oh,
you.
really?
I just happened to teach this
participation.
last night, so it's all fresh in my head too. So yeah.
I was going to ask the panel and others here if anyone's using Planner in Teams, and you know how effective that is for them. I swear by it. I feel like, you know, I don't own stock in Microsoft, but I absolutely love the product. Just because it's so central. So I don't have to, you know, use Trello for one thing and Outlook for email. It's also integrated. And, you know, video conferences can be recorded and saved. It's just, it works really, really well. And I'm wondering if other people feel the same, or if they're challenged with it.
I feel the same. And especially you can prioritize tasks. So if you assign someone to it, and you'll say it's important. And I just use the app on my phone. So if I'm out and about and I remember, oh my God, this person should do this, or I need to do something else, I just put it in the app. And then if it's a very important task, the person assigned to it is going to get an email right away saying that it's an important task and it needs to get done. Saves a lot of time.
Absolutely. I use it the same.
Chloe, Jennifer, maybe use something or similar.
I don't use tasks. I don't use Teams. We basically either use it as a messaging back and forth, or to have presentations. But our principals don't really use it. So my emails and tasks would probably not be used that way. But I'm sure if someone has a more robust use of Teams, I think it's a good idea to do the task. I mean, it's basically kind of, you know, it's almost like using Outlook or another form of doing it.
In the end, it's not so much the tool that you use, but how you use it, right?
Agreed.
I think that all of us have shown that we all use completely different ways to get our work done. And yet we all seem to get it done. I think everyone here is a successful marketing person. And, you know, whether you're eating a frog or you're, you know, making a to-do list, you know, it's whatever works for you. And, you know, something that works for me may be completely different than something that works for Marsha, who, you know, hates to-do lists. Like you know, and so I think for me, I've had the opportunity to use a couple of those different items and tweak them the way I think it works best for me. Like, you know, and to be flexible and to combine them, you know, not, you know, like as Bill said, I mean, you eat the frog every 4 weeks or something, because if you have a frog every single day, you know, you probably want to quit. You know, it may not be the place for you, or you need help.
But then some people might love frogs, and every day they want to handle a
True.
frog, and that's great.
True.
Whatever works for you is what's important, which is that's my takeaway, what you're saying.
Yeah.
Marcia, I know you shared some articles to help prep us for this call, and one of them really spoke to me, which was the one, Time Management Won't Save You. It came out in 21 by Dane Jensen, but there was a really great sort of conclusion to the article that I hope you share with everyone. But I think in all of these instances that we're talking about, the solution isn't to become more efficient, to accommodate more tasks, more decisions, and more distractions. The imperative is really to simplify and to reduce the number of tasks that you take on, and or replace decisions with principles, putting structure in place to eliminate distractions. And that's a stylistic thing that, you know, Jennifer just mentioned. That's your style and how you choose to figure this all out. But I think, you know, if you can simplify, you're only going to help yourself.
That was very well said, Chloe. Definitely.
Thanks, Marcia.
All right, we've got like 1.5 more minutes. Does anybody in the audience have anything else to share or want to comment on? I do want to state that our firm has been using Monday and to manage our proposals, our presentations, and it's been really helpful, you guys. I've never used the software before, but I really like it. I think it's great, and it automatically shoots out the emails. It has tasks. It tracks everybody's whereabouts as far as vacation. It's a real good organizer. So I would definitely recommend Monday.
I have one suggestion I echo what Jennifer Bentley was saying, that everyone has to have a system that works for you, and you get to interpret the systems. The thing that's a challenge is that if you're working with a team or a group of people and you're using a technology, whether it be Monday, Asana, Teams, it doesn't make a difference. One of the things that I found in working with my clients is that there needs to be ongoing training with it so that you get continued buy-in with it. So the day-to-day, each of us can do our own thing, but in terms of a team stuff, oftentimes if you just put it up there and you give like a 1-hour video, it's not going to be as productive as if you're going to do like a 1 month, especially when you're first starting it. Once a month, do a 1-hour training session with it and do Q&A, get people to buy into it more, and you'll learn from each other, like, oh, I'm using it this way and I'm doing it this way, and you collectively will make it better. So that's a suggestion for people that are working with groups.
I agree with Bill on that point too. And having senior leadership buy-in and use it and kind of be a champion for whatever program you're using is very powerful, so that when, you know, project managers seeing principals using the program effectively, they're going to start using the program effectively too.
All right. Well, in just being mindful of everybody's time, it's 9:30. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining, and thank you so much, Jennifer, Chloe, Daria, for being our panelists today and speaking, and Bill, our honorary panelist as well. Thank you so much for all your insight. So we look forward to seeing you guys again in another month, and take care and have a great day. Thank you.